All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a blueprint for what is, let's be honest, one of the most complex and, well, delicate relationship dynamics a couple can ever explore. We're talking about taking a very specific fantasy and trying to make it a successful reality. Okay, let's just jump right in with a number that honestly might surprise you. According to the source material, a staggering 58% of people, get this, fantasize about watching their partner with someone else. Yeah, it is way, way more common than you probably guess. But now, look at this. Less than 5%, less than 5, ever actually managed to turn that fantasy into something sustainable, something healthy. I mean, that is a huge, huge disconnect between what people want and what they can actually pull off. So what's going on here? Why is there this massive gap? Well, the source material just puts it so perfectly with this quote. It says, couples fail because they treat this cathedral-level construction project like they're just assembling some IKEA furniture. You know? They see this incredibly complex, delicate psychological thing, and they just try to wing it. No instructions, no blueprint, absolutely no foundation. And that, right there, that's the heart of the problem. See, these attempts don't just kind of fizzle out. No, they implode. They lead to incredible pain and shattered trust, and it's almost always because that crucial foundational work was just completely skipped over. So what's the solution? The source we're looking at proposes this, a very methodical 5-level pyramid, and each level has to build on the one before it. For this explainer, we're going to construct the first 3 levels together, because honestly, these are the ones that make all the difference between success and total disaster. All right, let's get into level 1. And listen, this is so important. This level has absolutely nothing to do with the fantasy itself. Not yet. Think of this as a complete audit of your relationship's existing infrastructure. The real question is, can it handle the immense pressure of radical, total vulnerability? Yeah, before you even think about bringing this topic up, your relationship has to already have these things in place. It's like a stress test, right? You need high emotional intelligence, you need a proven track record of getting through tough conversations, and you need this deep, unshakable security. Because, and this is a huge warning, this kind of dynamic will only amplify the problems you already have. It will never, ever solve them. Just look at the difference in approach here. I mean, it's night and day. The failure example? That's not a conversation starter, that's a grenade. It's basically an accusation, and it's designed to trigger feelings of inadequacy and fear. But the success example, that creates a sanctuary. It starts with vulnerability, it asks for safety, and it invites a real dialogue, not a defensive fight. So as you're talking, the source says you have to listen very carefully to the kind of questions your partner's asking. Are they driven by curiosity, or are they driven by fear? You know, questions like, that's interesting, what appeals to you about this? That suggests curiosity, maybe some readiness. But questions like, so, am I not enough for you? Well, that's pure fear talking. And that's a signal to stop everything immediately and just provide a ton of reassurance. So here's the big takeaway for level 1. This is not a one-and-done conversation, not even close. Success at this stage means 2 to 6 months of deep, totally pressure-free talks. The goal is for both partners to feel completely safe, completely heard, and to be moving forward with what's called enthusiastic consent, not feeling like they've been coerced or pressured into it. Okay, so once that foundation is solid, now we can start building on it. Welcome to level 2. This is where you move from just talking about it to actually thinking about it. You live with the concept mentally, but in extreme detail. This is how you discover if you actually want the reality of this or if you just kind of like the fantasy. And finding that out now costs you nothing. Finding it out later, well, that can cost you everything. And part of this level is understanding the biology that's at play here, because this isn't just some random psychological quirk. There are deep evolutionary drives, like what's called sperm competition theory, that can help explain the really intense, almost primal arousal some men feel about this. We're talking about deep evolutionary programming here. And this shows a really critical tool for this stage. It's called the traffic light framework. Look, vague boundaries like we'll just see how we feel are totally useless. You need a super granular, written down system just like this. It forces you to define exactly what you're enthusiastic about, your green zone, what you're kind of uncertain about, the yellow zone, and what your absolute non-negotiable hell no's are, that's your red zone. Another huge part of this level is preparing for things to go wrong. Yeah, you actually have to plan for failure. You have to game out the worst case scenarios. What's your emergency protocol if someone is just emotionally devastated? What is the safe word that stops everything instantly, no questions asked? Look, this isn't being pessimistic. This is what responsible engineering looks like. It's what allows you to handle a crisis if and when one comes up. So, if there's one thing to take away here, it's the timeline. Let this sink in. The couples who actually succeed spend 6 to 12 months on just these first two levels, just building the foundation and designing the blueprint. And the couples who crash and burn, they're the ones who try to rush through it all in a single weekend just because they're excited. All right, let's move on to level 3. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the moment of truth where all that theoretical work, all that planning finally gets road tested. It's where your beautiful, carefully laid plans collide head-on with the messy, unpredictable reality of human emotions. And that reality, it can be pretty sobering. The source material says a full 40% of couples stop permanently after their very first real-world experience. But here's the thing. In this framework, that's not considered a failure. Not at all. It's a successful discovery. They learned, in a safe way, that this just wasn't for them. So, how do you avoid becoming one of those statistics? Well, the source recommends a staged, really gradual approach. You absolutely do not just jump into the deep end. You start small, maybe with some digital interaction, texting, messaging. Then you move to something low stakes, like public flirtation. All this does is it lets you test the emotional waters to gather data long before you're in some high-pressure point-of-no-return situation. And for this moment, the source stresses you need a complete mindset shift. The first experience is not a performance, it is not something to be judged, it is an experiment, and the only goal is to gather data. It will probably be awkward. Unexpected emotions are not just possible, they're basically guaranteed. Success isn't perfection, success is just learning something new about yourselves. And the 48 hours of aftercare that come after, that is every bit as important as the event itself. So, after that first experience, and after that critical aftercare period, you arrive at the moment that all this preparation was really for. The data's been collected, the experiment is done, and now a decision has to be made. And what's so crucial here is that the framework says all 3 of these paths are valid, successful outcomes. Stopping is not failure. It's a successful, informed decision that protects the most important thing, the relationship. See, true success isn't defined by continuing no matter what. It's about navigating this whole entire process with honesty and care. Ultimately, this whole pyramid, this entire framework, it really just boils down to one single question. It forces a couple to look each other in the eye and decide, are we just chasing a fleeting thrill here? Are we just trying to assemble some IKEA furniture? Or are we willing to do the slow, methodical, architectural work it takes to build a cathedral of trust, something that's actually designed to last?